Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk about something we often overlook: the power of silence. Now, I'm not talking about being quiet for the sake of being passive. I'm talking about those moments, crucial moments, when staying silent is not weakness, it's wisdom. You know that feeling? Your heart's racing, your fists clench, your mouth starts forming the words before your brain catches up. That's anger trying to take the wheel. But here's the thing: words spoken in anger are rarely remembered for their truth, only for their sting. When you're angry, stay silent, let the heat pass, let clarity return. Then, if it still needs to be said, you'll say it better. We live in a world obsessed with quick opinions. Social media thrives on snap judgments. But when we don't know the full story, our words can become weapons, not wisdom. Simon Sinek says leadership is not about being right, it's about getting it right. And to get it right, we need to listen first, observe, understand. In a moment of uncertainty, silence is humility. One of the greatest gifts you can offer someone is the space to be heard. Whether it's a colleague struggling, a friend venting, or a teammate processing, don't rush to fix it. Don't interrupt. Stay silent. Let them speak. Let them feel safe. Great leaders don't dominate the conversation. They create room for others to rise. Anger is one of the most intense emotions we experience as human beings. It can come quickly, triggered by frustration, injustice, misunderstanding, or even fear. In the moment, it feels urgent. Our bodies react, our heart rate spikes, our breathing changes, and our brain gets flooded with emotion. In that state, the desire to speak up, to defend ourselves, to strike back with words feels almost irresistible. But the truth is, anger clouds judgment. And when we speak from that place, we rarely say what we truly mean. It's easy to believe that expressing anger through words will make us feel better, or that lashing out will restore a sense of control. But more often than not, words spoken in anger only deepen the problem. They escalate tension, hurt relationships, and leave behind regrets. In those heated moments, staying silent isn't a sign of weakness, it's a mark of emotional strength. It's the choice to hold back, to breathe, to give yourself the space to think clearly before you speak. That space is where growth happens. That pause is where leadership begins. Consider a moment in your life when you reacted in anger. Maybe you snapped at a loved one, interrupted someone mid-sentence, or fired off an email you later wished you hadn't sent. At the time, it might have felt necessary, even justified. But looking back, how did it serve you? How did it affect the other person? The problem with reacting in anger is that it feels like communication, but it's not. It's not about solving the issue or seeking understanding. It's about releasing the emotion. And while that release might feel good for a second, it can damage trust, connection, and credibility in the long run. Silence, on the other hand, offers a completely different kind of power. It allows you to listen not just to others, but to yourself. When you're silent in anger, you give yourself a chance to ask, what am I really feeling right now? What is the outcome I want from this moment? Most of the time, when we take that pause, we find that our initial impulse would not have led us anywhere productive. Silence helps us shift from reacting to responding. It helps us communicate with purpose instead of pain. This doesn't mean suppressing your anger. Emotions are valid and should never be ignored or buried, but there's a difference between acknowledging how you feel and allowing that feeling to take control of your voice. Choosing silence is not avoidance. It's preparation. It gives you time to calm down, to think through your words, and to return to the situation with clarity and intention. You still get to speak, but now your words have weight. They're not fueled by impulse. They're grounded in understanding. In relationships, in workplaces, in any human interaction, silence in anger can be a gift. It shows that you value the other person enough not to harm them with temporary emotions. It shows that you're committed to long-term understanding rather than short-term victory. And perhaps most importantly, it shows that you're in control of yourself, even when things feel out of control around you. So the next time you feel anger rising in your chest and your instinct is to speak, try silence instead. Breathe, wait, let the moment pass. Because once the heat fades and your mind clears, you'll likely find that what you really want to say is far more powerful and far more kind than anything anger would have chosen for you. In a world that moves faster than ever before, it has become second nature to form opinions quickly. We're constantly bombarded with information, news headlines, social media posts, snippets of conversations. And from that limited input, we often feel pressured to respond, to judge, or to take a side. But the truth is, more often than not, we're reacting without having the full picture. And in those moments, choosing silence is not only wise, it's essential. Jumping to conclusions is easy. We hear part of a story, we see someone's behavior out of context, or we catch wind of a rumor, and our minds fill in the blanks. It's part of human nature to want to make sense of things quickly. But when we speak based on assumption rather than understanding, we risk spreading misinformation, damaging relationships, and making ourselves look careless or even cruel. When you don't know the full story, staying silent allows space for the truth to unfold, for context to emerge, and for wiser words to eventually be spoken. There's a humility in staying silent. It means recognizing that you don't have all the answers and being okay with that. It means resisting the urge to offer opinions, judgments, or solutions before they're warranted. Silence in these moments doesn't mean you don't care. In fact, it often means you care enough not to make things worse. You care enough to listen first. Think of how often conflict begins not with facts, but with misunderstandings. Two people read the same situation completely differently. Someone misinterprets an email. A friend hears one side of a story. A coworker sees a decision, but not the pressures behind it. If you immediately speak out or react in those situations without seeking clarity, you may say something that is not only wrong, but unfair. You may hurt someone who didn't deserve it. And once words are spoken, they can't be unsaid. Simon Sinek talks often about the importance of empathy and understanding in leadership and communication. Part of that is knowing when to pause, when to wait, and when to ask questions instead of offering statements. Staying silent gives you time to observe, to gather more information, and to approach a situation with curiosity rather than criticism. It's in those quiet moments that you open the door for learning and for building trust. In both personal and professional life, people respect those who don't rush to judgment. They respect those who take the time to truly listen and understand before offering their perspective. And more importantly, when you do finally speak, your words carry more weight because they come from a place of insight, not assumption. Silence also protects your integrity. It keeps you from getting tangled in gossip, from spreading half-truths, and from making promises or threats based on incomplete knowledge. It allows you to be intentional with your voice, which is one of your most powerful tools. Speaking too soon can undermine your credibility. Waiting until you understand can enhance it. And sometimes, after all the facts come in, you realize that nothing needs to be said at all. The issue resolves itself, or the person involved explains everything, or the conflict turns out to be a simple misunderstanding. In those cases, your silence becomes not just a sign of patience, but of wisdom. So the next time you find yourself in a situation where you feel the urge to react, but you don't have all the details, pause, stay silent, wait, listen, because truth has a way of rising to the surface, and when it does, you be glad you didn't speak before it arrived. There's something incredibly powerful about being truly heard. In a world filled with constant noise, notifications, conversations, opinions, and distractions, what most people are actually craving isn't more talking, it's space, it's attention. It's the experience of being listened to without interruption, without judgment, and without someone jumping in to offer a fix. And one of the greatest acts of respect you can offer someone is your silence when they need to speak. Too often, when someone is sharing something with us, especially something difficult, emotional, or vulnerable, we immediately feel the need to respond. We want to give advice, share a similar experience, or say something comforting. While the intention may come from a good place, it can unintentionally shift the spotlight away from the person speaking and onto ourselves. The moment becomes less about them and more about our reaction. But what people usually need in those moments isn't a solution. They need to feel seen. They need to feel like their voice matters. Staying silent when someone else needs to speak is about holding space. It's the act of being present, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. It means resisting the urge to interrupt, to finish their sentences, or to rush them along. It's about allowing the conversation to breathe, giving the other person time to find their words and process their thoughts. Sometimes that kind of silence speaks louder than anything we could say. There is a kind of trust that's built in those moments of quiet presence. When someone knows they can talk to you without being judged, corrected, or redirected, they open up more. They feel safe, and that kind of safety is rare. It's also essential, whether you're a friend, a partner, a parent, a leader, or simply another human being navigating the complexities of relationships. True listening takes effort. It's an active choice. It means putting aside your own thoughts, opinions, and the desire to be heard in return. It requires you to be patient and focused, to listen not just to the words being spoken, but to the emotion behind them. Silence gives you the ability to tune in more deeply. You begin to notice the subtle pauses, the tone of voice, the body language. You can hear what's really being said, even when the words are uncertain or incomplete. In conversations that matter, silence is not awkward, it's sacred. It signals that you're fully engaged, that you care, and that you're not just waiting for your turn to speak. And when the person finishes, your response will be more thoughtful, more attuned, and more compassionate because it comes from a place of true understanding. We all want to be helpful, and it's tempting to jump in with a quick fix or a motivational quote, but often what people remember most is not what you said, it's how you made them feel. And when you allow someone to speak freely without interruption, you're telling them, you matter, your story matters, I'm here for you. It's easy to underestimate the impact of simply being there in silence, but sometimes that presence is the most healing thing you can offer. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to say the perfect thing. You just have to be willing to listen, to hold space, and to let the other person feel what they need to feel. So the next time someone turns to you to talk, whether they're upset, confused, excited, or grieving, try offering your silence, not as a way to disengage, but as a deeper way of connecting, because in that quiet space, something powerful happens. People feel heard. And when someone feels truly heard, they begin to heal. There are moments in life when we find ourselves standing on the edge of an argument, a misunderstanding, or a conflict. The tension hangs in the air, the energy is sharp, and emotions are running high. In these situations, it's natural to feel the urge to say something, to defend ourselves, to correct someone, to prove a point, or to respond to something hurtful. But these are often the very moments when silence becomes the wiser choice. Because not every situation needs more words. Sometimes words are like fuel on a fire. They don't resolve the conflict, they ignite it. It takes strength to hold your tongue when you're provoked. It takes even more to walk away from a conversation that's spiraling toward chaos. Most people believe that silence in these moments is weakness, that staying quiet means surrendering. But in true, silence can be a powerful form of control, not over others, but over yourself. It's a decision to not let someone else's emotions dictate your own. It's choosing peace over pride, calm over chaos. When someone is angry or frustrated and they're throwing sharp words your way, it's tempting to match their energy. We want to meet fire with fire. What we often forget is that escalation rarely leads to resolution, it leads to regret. A harsh word spoken in return might feel satisfying for a split second, but it can cause lasting damage, especially in relationships that matter to us. And once it's said, it can't be unsaid. Silence in the heat of the moment creates space. It allows things to cool down. It gives both people the chance to step back from the brink and reassess the situation with clearer heads. It can also serve as a mirror. When you choose not to engage in the heat of someone else's anger, you hold up a reflection. The absence of conflict from your side forces the other person to sit with their own emotions without being distracted by yours. Sometimes your silence can be the very thing that makes them realize how their words are landing. Of course, silence doesn't mean you avoid the issue forever. It doesn't mean you ignore your feelings or allow yourself to be disrespected. But timing matters. When you stay silent in the moment, you're not giving up your voice, you're postponing it until it can be used with intention instead of impulse. You're choosing a time when your words can actually make a difference rather than add to the damage. In difficult conversations, tone and timing are everything. You can say the right thing at the wrong time and it'll still go wrong. But if you wait, if you breathe, observe, and let emotions settle, then you create the possibility for real understanding. You make room for a conversation. In personal relationships, especially with people we care about, this kind of silence shows emotional maturity. It shows that we're more interested in resolution than in being right. It tells the other person, I value this relationship more than I value winning this moment. And that mindset can transform the dynamic entirely. Even in public settings or high-stakes environments like the workplace, staying silent when emotions are high can be a powerful leadership move. It keeps the focus on the bigger picture, preserves your professionalism, and earns the respect of those who see that you're not easily rattled. There is a deep kind of wisdom in knowing that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Because silence is not empty, it's full of potential. In moments of tension, it carries the strength of restraint, the grace of patience, and the promise of something better when the storm is past. Learning is not just about absorbing facts or collecting information, it's about transformation. It's about seeing things differently, thinking in new ways, and expanding your understanding beyond what you already know. But to truly learn, you have to listen. And to truly listen, you have to be quiet. In moments where knowledge is being offered, when experience is being shared, or when insight is unfolding, silence becomes your most powerful tool. There is a tendency, especially in environments where we want to prove ourselves, to speak before we've truly taken in what's being said. We want to contribute, to show what we know, to be part of the conversation, but sometimes that need to speak can block the learning that would happen if we simply stayed silent for a little longer. When you're always thinking about what to say next, you stop fully listening to what's in front of you. You miss the depth, the nuance, and the opportunity to grow. Silence in learning doesn't mean passivity, doesn't mean disengagement. It's actually an active kind of listening, a focused, intentional stillness that says, I'm here, I'm open, I'm ready to receive. It means putting your ego aside, letting go of the desire to impress, and embracing the humility that comes with not knowing everything. And that humility is the doorway to real understanding. The truth is, people who are constantly talking aren't usually the ones doing the most learning. It's the quiet observers, the thoughtful listeners, the ones who take the time to absorb and reflect, who often walk away with the deepest insights. When you stay silent in moments of learning, you allow others to fully express their ideas. You make space for wisdom to land. You stop interrupting the flow of information and instead become a vessel for it. In a classroom, a boardroom, or even a casual conversation, the person who listens with full attention often gains more than the one trying to lead the discussion. Because real learning isn't about dominating the room, it's about being present in it. It's about recognizing that every person you meet knows something you don't. And the only way to uncover that is through silence and curiosity. And there's also a beautiful respect that silence communicates. When you let someone speak without interruption, when you give their words time to breathe and settle, you're showing that you value what they have to offer. You're saying your voice matters. I'm here to learn from you. And that kind of presence not only deepens your learning, but it strengthens your relationships. In a world that rewards quick answers, hot takes, and constant commentary, the practice of staying silent while learning is almost revolutionary. It goes against the grain. It requires discipline, but it's within that quiet space that the real magic happens. It's where ideas take root, where questions form, and where understanding deepens. So the next time you're in a situation where there's something to learn, whether it's a formal lesson, a life story, a new perspective, or a personal insight, practice the power of silence. Don't rush to respond. Don't try to add your experience right away. Just be there. Be still. Be curious. Because in that silence, you might just hear something that changes the way you think forever. And when the time does come to speak, your words will carry more depth, not just because you've heard something new, but because you've truly taken the time to understand it.